You're driving home after a late shift or dinner with friends. Out of nowhere, flashing blue and red lights pop up in your rearview mirror. You signal, pull over safely, and roll your window down just enough to hand over your license and insurance. Everything seems routine. But before the officer even looks at your paperwork, he leans into your window, rests his arm on the frame, and asks what sounds like harmless small talk. So, where are you headed tonight? Where are you coming from? Most drivers think, he's just making conversation. If I'm nice, honest, and chatty, he'll let me off with a warning. That single assumption is one of the most dangerous mistakes you can make on the side of the road. In my years defending criminal cases, I have seen routine traffic stops turn into full vehicle searches, felony charges, and roadside detentions, all because the driver answered that one innocent-sounding question. In this video, I'm breaking down why police ask about your destination, the psychological trap behind it, and the exact word-for-word script you can use to shut it down immediately without being rude, without escalating the stop, and without giving that officer a single line to write in his report. Let's pull back the curtain on police academy training. When an officer asks where you're coming from or where you're going, he is not making small talk. He is fishing for what the courts call reasonable articulable suspicion. Right now, if he pulled you over for a broken taillight or doing 5 miles over the speed limit, that is the only legal reason he has to detain you. He has zero right to search your car or turn a speeding ticket into a drug or weapons investigation. So how does he get that right? By getting you to hand it to him on a silver platter. Here are the 3 things he is actually doing. Mapping known high crime areas. If you say, I was just visiting a friend over on 5th Street, and 5th Street happens to be what the department labels a known narcotics corridor, that innocent answer goes straight into his notepad as reasonable suspicion. Checking for timeline contradictions. If you say you're coming from work, but your work shift ended 3 hours ago, he will immediately follow up. Where were you between 5 and 8? Now you are being interrogated about your personal schedule without a lawyer. Establishing inconsistent direction of travel. If you tell him you're heading home to Oak Street, but you're driving eastbound on Highway 10, he will use that geographical inconsistency in court to argue you were acting evasive and suspicious. Let's analyze what 99% of people say when asked this question. Answer 1. I'm just coming from dinner with friends. What the cop hears, dinner means restaurants. Restaurants serve alcohol. The next question, have you had anything to drink with dinner tonight? You just opened the door to a DWI investigation. Answer 2. I'm coming from my girlfriend's house. What the cop hears? What's their name? What's their address? What were you doing there? Now you've dragged a third party into the traffic stop and given the officer more questions to test your honesty? Answer 3. None of your business. What happens? It sounds combative. While you have the right to remain silent, being aggressive gives the officer an excuse to claim you are acting hostile, which he will claim put his safety at risk to justify ordering you out of the car. Answer 4. A white lie to sound innocent. What happens? You panic and give a fake location. If the officer catches you in a lie, your credibility is destroyed, and courts will allow that lie to be used as evidence of a guilty mind. Here is what law enforcement hopes you never learn. You have zero legal obligation to disclose your travel history during a traffic stop. Under the 4th and 5th Amendments of the U.S. Constitution, scope of the stop in Rodriguez v. United States, 2015, the Supreme Court ruled that a traffic stop cannot be prolonged beyond the time reasonably required to complete the mission of the stop, meaning checking your license, checking registration, running for warrants, and issuing a citation or warning. No requirement to explain travel. State and federal courts have repeatedly affirmed that an officer cannot force you to answer questions unrelated to the specific infraction you were pulled over for. Your travel plans have nothing to do with whether your license plate light is out. So how do you protect your rights without being rude or sounding guilty? Once you hand over your license, insurance, and registration, keep both hands visible at the top of the steering wheel. When the officer asks, "Where are you coming from tonight?" Look him directly in the eye, stay calm, use a neutral and polite tone, and say these exact words. "Officer, I prefer not to discuss my day or travel plans. I'm happy to focus on the reason for the stop. Am I free to go, or am I being detained?" Let's break down why this script is an ironclad legal defense. I prefer not to discuss my day. This invokes your 5th Amendment right to remain silent on that specific subject without sounding hostile. I'm happy to focus on the reason for the stop. This establishes on body camera that you are cooperative and reasonable. No prosecutor can play that footage in court and claim you were combative. Am I free to go, or am I being detained? This is the magic question. It forces the officer to make a legal decision. He either has to finish writing your ticket and let you leave, or he must articulate a legal justification to detain you. If he pushes back and says, "Look, I'm just trying to make conversation. What are you hiding?" Do not take the bait. Repeat your backup line. "I understand, officer, but I'm exercising my right to remain silent. Am I free to leave?" Remember, during a traffic stop, the officer is building a case from the second his squad car lights turn on. Everything you say is being recorded and evaluated. Hand over your required documents. Keep your hands on the wheel. Never explain your travel history. Politely redirect the conversation back to the reason for the stop and ask if you are free to go. If you found this breakdown helpful, share this with friends and family so they know how to protect their constitutional rights on the road.